Hello everyone, it's Miss Heather with Reflecting Inward Life Coaching again, and today I have a presentation for you on using your strengths to succeed in your goals. So the first thing that I want us to consider is what is it that's keeping us from getting what we want in life? And even more importantly, what is it that we really want? You have to know what you really want before you can move toward it, and something can keep you from getting what you want in life. So first step, know what you really want. And when you think about what you really want, take a look at the reason why you want that. Is there some sort of insecurity? Is there something telling you that you need to achieve a certain something? And that's what you want. For example, I really want this job because then people will know that I'm important because I'm successful in this high ranking job. Or I really want this job because look at all the money, we can get a big house and a pool and we can get a boat, and then people will know that we're successful and that we've made it. And that's how I'll know that I'm successful and that I've made it. So really, if that's your train of thought, what is it that makes the job title, what is it that makes the money make you feel like you've made it, that that's success? Okay? And when you've made it that far, do you think you really will feel like you've been successful, that you've made it? Because if you look at statistics, actually, if you look at the research, the people that make more money, the highest levels of money you can make, when they're questioned on their level of fulfillment and happiness and success, those things are actually just as low as people who live in poverty and in the lower class. The happiness and the fulfillment of the most wealthy people in the world, self-reported, ends up being similar to those who are in poverty and in the lower income classes. That's not just me talking, that's actual research and statistics. So be really clear on what it is that you really want, what it is that makes you think that that will bring you what you want. So for example, if you want happiness and fulfillment, what about that money is going to make you happy? What about that money is going to fulfill you? Be really, really clear and honest with yourself. Once you've discovered what you really, really want, then you think about what's keeping you from getting what you want in life. And that's when I stop and I consider, when we make that list, sometimes some people may look at that list and say, well, those are just excuses. And I have to be very careful with that, because I think we all should be careful with that, because I have been personally accused of making excuses for something. And at that point, I had to stop and consider, am I making an excuse? Well, I think I'm just explaining the reason. And I had to stop and consider that. What's the difference between an excuse and a reason? So what I determined when I've come to the conclusion of thus far in my life, because I'm still learning, obviously, is that an excuse is something that we proclaim that removes our own responsibility or our own possible consequence from the story. And a reason is just the facts, the details of the sequence of things that happened. And it's not saying, well, I shouldn't be held responsible for this. It's just saying this is what happened. So for example, if someone says, well, I want to be an accountant, say a CPA, and you have to go to college, let's say, to get to the point where you can take the test to be a CPA. Now, you might want to double check this, because I actually don't think you need to have a degree to take the test to be a CPA. But let's just say, for the story's sake, that whatever it is that you wanted to achieve, you needed to go to college and get a degree for it. And so you say, well, I really want to be a CPA. And someone says, well, then why didn't you go to college? And your response is, I can't because I didn't graduate from high school, because my teachers were discriminating against me and they all gave me bad grades. So I didn't graduate from high school. And the person they respond, well, then why don't you go for a GED? And you're like, you may respond with, well, I can't. And they may say, well, Well, why not? It's like, oh, well, I just can't. Okay. Well, so the issue is you got to go to college to get what you want, but you can't because you didn't graduate from high school. And at that point in the story, it sounds like there's blame. There's blame for the teachers were discriminating, gave me bad grades, and thus it removes my responsibility of getting my GED so that I can go to college to get what I want. So if that is the argument that I didn't graduate from high school so I can't go to college, at that point we're removing our own responsibility to go after the GED and we're blaming it on the teachers. But if we say, well, in order to be a CPA, I need to go to college, and I can't get into college because my test scores are extremely low. And I've applied to many, many colleges, and I've been rejected by every single one of them. And the other person says, have you tried starting at a community college, just a local community college? And you say, yeah, I applied to 3 of them, but I didn't get accepted to any of them. And then the other person says, okay, well, maybe we can retake the tests and get a higher score. And you might say, I didn't realize that I could retake the test and get a higher score. If that's what's keeping me out of college, then yeah, I'll retake the test. See, at this point, we have 2 different stories. We have a story of blaming other people and not taking responsibility for the things, our actions, the things that we can do. Or we have a story of was not aware of what I could be doing to get to my goal. And I'd done everything I could do. I was taking responsibilities for as much as I could that I understood, and I wasn't able to get there because I was lacking information. I was unaware. Okay, so those are 2 examples of what I've come to the conclusion and understanding of excuses versus reasons. Okay, so now going back to what keeps us from getting what we want in life. And we have to be really clear with ourselves, be really honest and true to ourselves to know what it is that's keeping us from getting what we want in life. And for most people, I would say that the majority of people I have met and talked to, what they really want in life is happiness and fulfillment, to feel like they're living their life to the fullest extent and they're using their strengths and their abilities to the greatest extent. So the objectives of today's presentation are to find and understand how your personal strengths can be used in your own growth process, understand that truth is the foundation of progress and success, and to apply your strengths to have a more meaningful life experience. Okay, so here on this slide, we're talking about some of my personal personality traits and values, things that I've seen in myself since I was a child. And the reason why I am presenting these to you for your consideration is because when I look back at my healing process and what helped prepare me for the resources I came across when I came across them, is, I believe, founded in some of these things that have been important to me throughout my life. So as you go through and review these topics, consider how these topics have applied to you in your life, you know. So the first one is truth. And this could be truth as we seek to find it through religion and spirituality, through political views, social and cultural norms, media and marketing. All of these things impact our lives, whether or not we are actively aware of it. So we're constantly being fed information. What is it that we believe? What is it that we accept as truth? And which things are the things that we've always just been presented through our lives, so they seem normal to us? They must be true because it's what we structure our life and belief system around. So we accept them just because we've never been raised another way. We haven't seen another way. So the way I have learned, what I've learned about truth is that truth is the foundation for all the changes that we want to see in ourselves and in the world. When we seek and we live honestly and truthfully, both to ourselves and to others, we're able to make the changes that will lead to success. Lies and deceit keep us comfortably hidden in a box that culture and society, including government and big business, want us to be in. And they may convince us that in order to be safe and in control of our circumstances, we need to hide within our comfort zone. But really, these lies and the deceit, they limit our understanding. They limit our strength for positive change and they contribute to misunderstanding. They contribute to hate, to contention between various groups in our communities and throughout the whole world. So if we want true progress in our own lives and in the world, we need to be willing and to be open to ideas and perspectives that are beyond our own. We need to be seeking truth, even if it's outside of our personal experience and understanding. So this is why truth, I feel like, was a foundation for me in being able to move forward in my process. I wasn't willing just to look at my experience and say, well, this is just the way it is. I was willing to look at other opportunities and other perspectives to grow outside of what I currently understand. And that has been absolutely monumental in my change, my personal change. So, another thing that I have always done for many, many years is to wonder. I would ask myself things like, well, I wonder who they are. And I'm referring to people that I would pass on the street or that I would just see in a group of people. And I would observe them and their behavior and what they were doing. And I would think to myself, who are they? I wonder where they're going or what they're doing. I wonder what their life is like. Who are their parents? Who are their siblings? Do they have siblings? What kind of experience do they have with their siblings? Is it a positive or a negative experience? Are they close to their family? Do they have friends that can support them? Who do they love? Who loves them and why? And that leads me to, what are their strengths? I wonder what their strengths are. I wonder how they can contribute to the world in a wonderful way that could buoy and support the world and everyone in it. And also, for reasons of understanding and finding commonalities and empathy and compassion for others, what challenges have they had? I wonder what challenges they have had in their lives. The next thing is that I've always had this drive for improvement. My favorite books to read are all on self-improvement. Surprise. And I have always asked myself in that process, how can I help? And this was a big theme for me in my classroom with students, especially when I was teaching fourth grade. I really wanted to emphasize looking at a situation, acknowledging that there's a problem or a challenge, and then looking at ourselves and our strengths and say, with my strengths and with my abilities, how can I help? Sometimes you need to ask the other person or the group or whoever it is with a challenge, specifically, how can I help? And other times we can just ask ourselves and then go about and do good. So another thing that I noticed about myself is that I was always striving to be better, even if my social relationships seemed to be going well, or dating relationships seemed to be going well. Every once in a while, I would pause and I would ask. So, for example, my roommates in college, I would pause every once in a while and I would say, is there anything that you can think of that I can be doing better? And I really, truly was open to whatever that is they had to say. That does take humility. And I think that sometimes we are afraid to ask that question because we're afraid we might hear something that supports the lies, the beliefs we have in our unconscious about who we are. What if they say that I'm messy and organized, and unorganized? Well, that just supports my belief about myself that I'm incapable of being clean, that I'm incapable of being organized. Then you have to like deal with a potential problem. We will talk about irrational beliefs and lies and those challenges and how to overcome them in another video. But I just wanted to point out that sometimes we need to be willing to face the fear. Sometimes we need to be willing to be open and humble enough and have a desire for growth. And when we're open to that growth, we can actually have positive change in our lives. Change does not happen without poking and prodding at that comfort zone to get out of it. One thing I wanted to add and just mention about that previous slide is that I had a picture of 3 books that have been extremely influential in my life, and they really did support all the 3 things that I mentioned before. My search for truth, my asking myself, I wonder about people and their situations, and my desire for personal growth. And I came across this organization. Their name is the Arbinger Institute, and they have some amazing books out, all focused on the outward mindset. And they changed my life. They were actually lined up very well with all of the things that I've already talked about and what I believe in already. But they helped me to actually see a structure for how to approach people who maybe I might have a challenge with. So I would highly recommend that you look up those books at your local library. You can just even look up the Arbinger Institute, Arbinger Institute, and you will see their books that are available. The ones that were most meaningful to me are The Outward Mindset and Leadership and Self-Deception. Great reads. So now this slide here is a list of my personal VIA character strengths. VIA is a website you can go to, and you can actually take an assessment, and it'll spit out all of your strengths from the strongest ones down to the ones that are the least strong. And these are my top 5 strengths according to the VIA character strengths assessment. The first one, there are subcategories of the various strengths, and my 5 end up in 3 of these categories: wisdom, humanity, and transcendence. And my three of these top 5 are under wisdom. The first one is creativity, and this is thinking of novel ideas and productive ways to achieve things. I think that a lot of times we think about creativity and we think art. And let me tell you that I am not artistic at all, not creative artistic as far as drawing and painting and such. I could probably work on that skill, but it has not as of yet been a strength of mine. And so I'm really grateful for this additional definition of creativity, because I definitely do think of a lot of novel ideas and productive ways to achieve things. The next one is a love of learning, which is mastering new skills, topics, and knowledge, both on my own and formally. Not a huge surprise again, since I'm into self-improvement and growth. The next one is curiosity, taking an interest in an ongoing experience for its own sake, finding subjects and topics fascinating, exploring, and discovering. Again, that's really important when it comes to a foundation for knowledge. If you don't have curiosity, you don't wonder, you don't seek out knowledge. The next one is under humanity, and that one is love. That one has to do with valuing close relationships with others, specifically those where sharing and caring are reciprocated. And the next one is under transcendence. This is hope, expecting the best in the future and working to achieve it, believing in a good future, and that's something that can be brought about, that it can actually be achieved. And at the bottom here of this slide, you're going to see a line that says high 5. This is the high 5 test results. I just wanted to add them as a snippet there at the bottom. My top five, high five strengths, according to that assessment, is that I'm a catalyst. I don't just sit back. I move. I go to action. I do things. The next one is I'm a coach. I believe that people have an ability to fulfill their highest potential, and I encourage them to do so. Surprise! Not really. I'm an empathizer. I'm a philomath, and that was a new word for me. So it's about learning and knowledge. Again, these relate and they connect to my VIA characteristic strengths. And the last one is that I'm an optimist, which aligns really well with hope. So the reason why I'm pointing these out is because when you do your assessment to find your VIA character strengths, and if you choose to, your high five strengths, you will be able to see how these strengths are actually being lived throughout your day-to-day life. And that strength will give you, those strengths will give you something to come back to when you're feeling a little bit discouraged, when you're feeling like you can't, or like the lies that are in the back of your mind repeating over and over must be true and they're keeping you from doing the things that you want to do with your life. You can come right back to these strengths and they can be evidence to you that the lies are just lies and that you have the ability to be successful. So as I just mentioned, coming back to your strengths is paramount in your success to overcoming challenges. When you're faced with negative thoughts and feelings, going back to your strengths can help you see the lies that you're repeating to yourself and the truth about your abilities as a way to remind you to apply your strengths to achieving your goals. Again, another reason why it's so important to keep a journal is so that you can look back and remind yourself when you forget how strong you really are. So your actions for today's video, they are to first find your top 5 VIA characteristic strengths. They'll give you an actual document that you can download to your computer and save. You go to www.viacharacter.org, and in the top right corner, you will see a yellowish orange tab that says take the free survey. When you click on that, it'll have you create a free account. I have not had any problems with this. They are a valid organization. They're magnificent. I would not hesitate to make an account if I were you, and take the free survey. And it will send you this PDF document of all of your strengths in order from strongest to least strong. At that point, record your top 5 in your journal and then think about examples for each of those top 5. Think about examples in your life of when and where your strengths have been used already. And if you're interested, you're welcome to go to www.high5test.com. Remember that the 5 is the number 5 instead of the word 5, and see what they tell you your strengths are, because you might see that some of them are overlapping, and that's just more reinforcement for how wonderful and strong those particular strengths are. The other action that I invite you to take is to consider and record the following in your journal. What value does truth have to you? Meaning, is it important? Is the truth important? Why or why not? For you personally, how does knowing the truth help you succeed? How do lies and deceit keep you from succeeding, if you feel they do? And the next thing is, how can I or you use your strength to do good this week? So think back on your strengths, choose 1 or 2 or more of them to apply throughout the week. Specifically, watch for opportunities to use your strengths, and then reflect on those experiences and record them in your journal. How do you feel about those experiences? What have they taught you about yourself? What have they taught you about your potential, where you can be going? As always, if you have any recommendations or suggestions for topics that you want to hear about in our videos, please go ahead and comment below. And if you want to be made aware of new videos as they come out to help you in your healing process and growth process, don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions or have any other additional information that you want to learn about based upon these things, please go to www.reflectinginward.org, click on free resources, and take a look at the various topics and activities that you can do there. Awesome activities, if I do say so myself. They say that when you actually do is when you learn and you recreate, you override habits with new positive habits. And the activities will help you to do that. They will help you do things more like the what to do next in these videos. They have activities that you can actually do throughout the various topics that help you solidify the information and make it a part of your growth process and who you are. And again, these are things that I have done to help me to grow as well. So I highly recommend them. They've been monumental in my growth process and my healing process. And if you are interested in a free one-on-one coaching session, please email me at ms.heather@reflectinginward.org. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a wonderful day.